Oh, hello. Welcome to the dungeon. I'm just working on some details for my next novel, and it's all based on an incident that I had while sailing across Moreton Bay from the mainland of Eastern Australia. The story opens up with a body that is found attached to the propeller of a yacht that's anchored in a little area called Shark Spit. And on my screen here, I've got Moreton Island. I've got the east coast of Australia, which is basically just north of Brisbane. And one day I was out there anchored in Shark Spit, fishing with Margot. We'd had a lovely fishing session, caught about 15 decent-sized whiting, and whiting's a lovely fish to eat. If you have never had it before, go out and find yourself a piece of whiting. Soft white flesh, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of butter, beautiful. She finished gutting the fish, and I was working off the duck board doing something to the tender, and she hands me the bucket of offal and says, can I rinse that out? And I said, sure. But the current was streaming through this area at the time, and the bucket fell out of my hand and drifted away before I could get it back. Anyway, I let it go. I've got other buckets on board. And we had our dinner, and 3 hours later, I hear this knocking on the back of the boat. It's my bucket. It's drifted all the way down to wherever it drifted, and then drifted all the way back on the rising tide. And it got me to thinking, is it possible that I could write a murder story around the principle of this bucket disappearing and coming back to its point of origin? So that's how I started the second novel, and it's quite shocking. But the research that I'm doing at the moment is to check and see whether the days that I said it all happened correlate with the tides that did happen. It's one of the things that you've got to do when you're writing. Now, I know it's possible that nobody's going to check it, but Margot kind of taps me on the shoulder every so often and says, you see where you wrote the January the 6th? Can you just go back and check and see whether January the 6th was actually a high tide at 12 a.m.? So I go online and I download a copy of the Tide Times 2015 when the story takes place. There's 247 odd pages that it offers to print out every day from January the 1st to December the 31st. And here I am just circling a couple of days trying to work out whether the tides correlate with my story. And if it doesn't, I'll change the story to make sure that it does. But what I don't know whether I need to do, and you may be able to help me, what the weather was doing on those days, because in the chapter where the murder is set up, it's a fine day. It's a quiet day. It's a picture postcard kind of day. It's possible, very possible, that there was an easterly blowing on this particular day. And that means there would be waves, which means some of the descriptors I used in the narrative won't match. Now, if you were reading a story, would you, 1, check the tides, 2, check the weather on a day that occurred, what are we in 2019 at the moment, 4 years ago? Would you actually do it, or would you let it slide and say, well, that sounds like it would be right, I'd let it go? Or would you go back and research it? That's the life of a writer. So anyway, thanks for dropping by. I'm going to go back and do some more work on this novel and fact check a little bit more. So I hope you have a great day wherever you are in the world. Come back again very soon. For me, it's back to the pit.